The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us here in FRC Media. It is Wednesday morning, and every Wednesday morning, just about every Wednesday morning, we have the opportunity to speak with Mayor Paul Coogan, Mayor of the City of Fall River. Mayor, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Keith. How about you?
Good. Every time I say every week, last week we didn't film this, so it's not every week. Just about every week we speak with the mayor. We're happy to do so. Few items on my list today. They're actually all related to school. This week at the school committee meeting, the school committee voted to pass a resolution that was brought forth by the Fall River Educators Association, which calls for the school committee support of eliminating the requirement to pass MCAS that may be on the ballot this November, and also in support of the Thrive Act, which would, I guess, codify the elimination of the MCAS graduation requirement and also provide some other assistance for communities. The school committee did vote 6-1 to pass along that resolution. I know we've talked about it in the past, Mayor. You supported the resolution as well. MCAS has been around for a while. What are your thoughts in terms of, taking this next step and having it not count as a graduation requirement?
Well, that's the key, and it's this test. We're talking about this MCAS test as it exists now.
Right.
It's way too long. It's 16 hours at least, and it goes on and on and on. And between the makeups and the people that have to come back because they get a certificate instead of a diploma to take it again. I mean, I've had people take that at grade 10 MCAS math test 4 and 5 times. I mean, they've graduated a couple of years ago and they're still taking the MCAS math test. It's a real challenge. There's got to be some kind of a compromise where we do an assessment. I would like to, in my world, a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours, see if they can read on grade level. They understand basics of math. Maybe something about the government and how it runs, some questions that make people a well-rounded student. That test is so long and so difficult to administer in schools like a Durfee, where the whole school comes to a screeching halt because of where we have to place the 500 or 600 sophomores to take that test every year. It's a real challenge, and it's a lot of work. It's definitely noble. I think we should have kids grading out that can read on the grade level, understand the principles of math, but that test is just structured very, it's very punitive to kids that have worked hard and need a diploma.
And, something that is important to note is MCAS is still going to be around. The test will still be administered, but it's the requirement to pass the test, as you said, in the 10th grade to allow you to graduate. That's the part that's hoping to be removed. And that move with that in conjunction with the Thrive Act will, I guess, put the assessment tool back in the local district's hands. Is that correct?
Yes, there would be a combination of assessments, whether it's a portfolio or some other, or using grades or whatever they want to make it as a combination to make sure a kid's worthy of getting a diploma.
Yeah. And so we'll have to see how that shakes through. The current process is the drive to put this on the ballot in November. That is actually moving forward. And it's actually in the legislature's hands right now. They can vote to either pass the initiative outright as a legislature or take no action and allow for further signatures that need to be collected that will be put on the ballot in November. So that's the status of the ballot question. I want to move forth to another item that was on the school committee this week. We talked about the retirement of Superintendent Maria Pons. The school committee is moving forward on hiring her replacement. And there was a timeline offered to the school committee to consider in terms of taking that next step. And it looks like it's going to be a fairly condensed process where, I guess the hope is still to have possibly someone in place for July 1st, correct?
Yeah, it may be delayed a little bit. As I said the other night, I know that they want to get all applicants to submit by April 30th. Uh, From then on, we'll go to the semifinalist interviews. I was on the phone yesterday with Massachusetts Association of School Committees, Glenn Kuchar, who's going to spearhead this effort for us. Um, So he'll come down and meet with our advisory panel that's going to do the initial screenings. They'll send the finalist on to the school committee, which will then do a public interview with a standardized set of questions, and we'll make our recommendations after that. I think it's, you know, it's important for a district like Fall River to have those people on board in a timely manner, but time isn't everything, and we want to make sure we do it right and we have the right person that fits into our system.
And I guess depending on the circumstances, is there a possibility that there could be an interim superintendent if things, depending on timelines and the like?
Um, right now, I wouldn't think that, but the only thing I could think about for a interim would be something health related, or something if Maria didn't feel well or something, God forbid, happened to her, we'd probably have to move that way, but I don't see that in the cards right now. I just think we're going through the normal process, but you can't eliminate anything in this day and age. So if something like that came up out of the blue and we had to put someone there for a couple of months, we would do that to keep the system going.
Yeah. You talked about there's going to be a local screening committee that you have appointed members to that screening committee. Talk about, who's on there and what kind of representation
Well,
does it have?
we looked at all the groups in Fall River that make up the Fall River Public Schools community, whether it's the teachers, the parents, student, administration, um, with an eye towards diversity, our English language learners. We have a representative across the board on almost all the groups. So we want them. It's a committee of 11, and they will, like I said, they will formulate some questions, working with the Massachusetts Association of School Committees, with an idea of what the school committee is looking for, and hopefully do the initial screening so we can see what we have for our candidate pool, and then we'll decide from that pool how many we're going to have for our finals, and off we go.
Yep. So definitely a lot of moving parts as we head over the past 2 months left in the fiscal year before Superintendent Ponce retires at the end of June.
Yep.
Last night, there was a joint meeting of the school committee, city council. You were there as well. This is mandated by the charter. And one of the things that was brought up yesterday was sort of an initial look at the administration's general budget for the city of Fall River for FY 2025. And then, the discussion always evolves at these. And there's been talk, we've talked about it many times, in terms of the city's commitment to paying for a new Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School. The city has already begun paying for that. The numbers were relatively low last year. I believe next year, the city's commitment is about $800,000. But moving forward, the city's commitment will be well over $6 million a year to help pay for the construction of that school. And about a year and a half ago, I believe, you had pressed the issue of having a debt exclusion vote, as was taken for the construction of Durfee High School. That did not pass the city council. You're looking to do that again. Talk about that rationale and what your hopes are the second time around.
Well, when the council took their vote, they were able to, without the administration's support, they were able to commit to funding for a new Diamond, but they did not commit a way to fund Diamond. There's got to be a mechanism in there. Now, we're thinking to go back to the voters, probably if we can in the fall, and ask them if they'd be interested in supporting a new Diamond, which again, 90% of the city is all on board with that. It's already being built. I was up there Monday, and it's a heck of a construction site going on right now. So, and they're well into it. The problem is not the payment this year, or maybe even the payment next year. It's the payment that might start in 26 or 27, which would then be over $6 million a year. The city, in its present budget, cannot take a $6 million hit without, significant cuts um, to the city side of the budget. We can't touch the school side. So I'll keep it simple so everybody understands. If the city's budget is 300 million, it's actually a little more than that. And it's 150 million for schools and 150 million for all other city services. The only place we're cutting is from the all other city services. It's not from the school side. We have to meet our 100% mandated spending amount over there to the best of our ability. And the rest of it is going to come out of mostly personnel on the other side, whether it's public safety, whether it's DCM, whether it's government center, wherever. That's where the money is going to have to come from. And that would be a substantial knock on the city. I don't think we can afford it. That's why I'm going to ask the voters to support that. You know, it's a big deal, and going forward, we have to do that. I do want to talk about one other thing, though, briefly, though. When you looked at our presentation last night on the budget, and it was like a $14 million increase, as Mrs. Almond, the CFO, pointed out. Mostly that's all schools. It was a 4.1% increase, I believe. Inflation is over 3%, so there's really not any wild spending going on in there other than those school mandates under the Student and Opportunity Act. But as I said, when you factor in the whole budget, if we did have to fund Diamond, it's coming out of the city side, not the school side.
Have you had the opportunity, even informally, to speak with some of the counselors to see if their appetite is to put this forward for the fall?
I got a feeling most of them are on board with just letting it go to the voters and let them decide. Again, that would be their, it's in their area. If they want to work on that, that would be great. I think a question on a ballot is something that gives everybody a chance to weigh in, which, as you pointed out, we were trying to advocate for before we got to this point. Doing it after the fact might be a little more stressful, but at the same time, we'll do what we can.
All right. And your hope is this to be on the ballot this November, correct? As people are
Right.
voting for president, there should be a good turnout, we would hope, right?
Right, a bigger turnout, let people come out, and hopefully we get a better cross-section of Fall River.
All right. All right, Mayor Paul Coogan, as always, thank you for your time. We'll talk again next week. Take care.
Okay, Keith, thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week.